afternoon session of the day has changed the way that we see the world around us. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected every aspect of our life. Mental, social, economical, but most of all, it has affected our health. The session is called Healthcare and Pandemic Economy. And our apt and able moderator for the session is Dr. K.M. Abul Hassan, the current Managing Director, Erode City Hospital. He was responsible for establishing the neonatal surgery ward in Government Headquarters Hospital. He is the organizing president of IMAYAM, Home for Terminally Ill Cancer Patients at Erode, and he is Director and Coimbatore Zonal Secretary, United Economic Forum, Chamber of Commerce. He is also the Vice Chairman of the UEF World Summit 2020. Being a doctor myself, I am as eager as you are to listen to our fantastic speakers. So over to our distinguished moderator to introduce them and take this session forward.
Thanks a lot for your kind introduction, Dr. Tawseef. Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. I welcome you all to this session on healthcare and pandemic economics. Okay, United Economic Forum, through this virtual World Summit 2020, aims to enable value addition of 1.5x over the business as usual. That is $67.5 billion by 2050. I'm sure all the members of UEF is very crazy about this number. This target is all for our members and all stakeholders, thereby contributing for the economic and social development of Tamil Nadu, India, and beyond. Healthcare has become one of India's largest sector, both in terms of revenue and employment. The Indian healthcare sector is growing at brisk pace due to its strengthening coverage, services, and increasing expenditure by public as well as private players. COVID-19 has inflicted millions, bringing this economic activity to a near standstill. But since the outbreak, one sector that has the world's fullest attention is healthcare, right? In the middle of a gloom, there is a window of opportunity that awaits this sector. We can visualize a lot of changes in the strategy of healthcare delivery and the increasing adoption of technologies to treat people efficiently. Digital and cloud-based technologies are reshaping the healthcare industry today. Ladies and gentlemen, we have very exciting topics to discuss and very eminent personalities as speakers. So let me welcome our first panelist, Dr. Preetha Reddy, Vice Chairperson, Apollo Hospitals Group. I welcome Dr. M.A. Malik Mohammed, co-founder of Twin Digital Services India Private Limited. I welcome Dr. M.A. Sahadullah, Chairman and Managing Director of KIMS Hospital Group, Thiruvananthapuram. I also welcome Dr. Anis Ahmed, joined from Singapore. He is the Director and Senior Consultant Surgeon of Mount Elizabeth and Novena Center, Singapore. Brothers and sisters, we have total 90 minutes. Each speaker will be taking 15 minutes, and 15 minutes will be allotted for question and answer system. So please stay back. Now we will have a video of the concept of this session.
COVID-19 has turned the world upside down, bringing global economic activity to a near standstill and leaving the future unclear. As a result, global attention has focused on healthcare, as the outbreak has brought the need for robust public health systems and increased investments in healthcare infrastructure and research, amply evident. Considering such emergencies as also increased healthcare needs of our citizens, it is essential to rethink healthcare policies of the future. Indian spending on public healthcare is about 1% of its GDP, much lower than comparable developing countries. Due to this, Indian citizens' personal spending on health is 60% higher in comparison. The Government of India, along with state governments, is committed to increasing healthcare spending by 2.5 times by 2025. Tamil Nadu is the healthcare capital of India, leading with best-in-class facilities. The state has 1.6 doctors per thousand, exceeding WHO recommended 1 for every 1,000. Its bed-to-population ratio at 1.1 per thousand, while lower than WHO recommendation of 3 per thousand, is still significantly higher than the rest of India. The pandemic, in a painful manner, has highlighted that changes are needed in the healthcare system. This has led to new opportunities across the healthcare industry, like telemedicine, along with the increasing use of Internet over Things, artificial intelligence, data analytics, and robotics. With emerging technologies and well-developed infrastructure, accessible and affordable healthcare can be achievable.
Okay. Let me introduce our first panelist, Dr. Prida Reddy. Dr. Prida Reddy is the Vice Chairperson of Apollo Hospitals Group, that is Asia's foremost integrated healthcare provider. She works closely with Apollo's 9,000 clinicians in introducing contemporary protocols to continuously enhance clinical outcome. This is very, very amazing, ladies and gentlemen. In addition, Dr. Prida Reddy works with the industry bodies and Government of India and contributed especially to the formation of, I can take the names of Quality Council of India, National Accreditation Board for Hospitals, and also Nat Health. She provides leadership and direction in several social projects. One such thing is such. You know what is such? Save a Child's Heart initiative. Dr. Prida Reddy was conferred with so many honors and laurels, like ABLF Award, NHRDN People CEO Award Women Leadership, and she was conferred the degree of Doctor of Science by the Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University in recognition of her outstanding work in the field of healthcare. Now let us listen to the words of wisdom from Dr. Prida Reddy on emerging opportunities post-pandemic era. Over to you, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed Buhari, Chairperson, Dr. Abdul Hassan, my co-panelists who are all friends, Dr. Saadullah. It's a pleasure to see all of you, albeit virtually. But I think conferences like this are really bringing boundaries and people so much closer to each other. And thank you for organizing it. Mr. Buhari said that, you know, they've worked very hard and it's been an amazing conference. I think that's because you pulled together an amazing group of speakers, and that is credit to UEF. And may you continue to have God's blessings to keep doing that. So thank you for doing this. And suddenly what the pandemic has done is, for years, people like us, you know, healthcare professionals have tried to tell global leaders, our national leaders, that health is very important. Health is important because it's directly proportional to economic growth. But somehow this virus came and it has thrown the best laid plans so out of the window. But the glimmer of hope and the silver lining in it, even though, you know, multiple lives have been lost, is now mankind, leaders, global leaders will never ever look away from health. You know, they will never say that it's everything else and health. Today it will be health and then everything else. And I think that is what has happened, that healthcare has been positioned to such a level. But having said that, I think then the responsibility on healthcare professionals has become even more. And, you know, within Apollo system, and when we talk to everyone, we say there has to be a AAA concept. For those of you who are bankers, will understand that, you know, a rating of AAA means that, you know, you get better funding and you get better loans. But for healthcare professionals, the AAA is accountability, accessibility, and affordability. And this is the AAA which will really make healthcare as it's not really a business unless we say we're in the business of caring. And the caring comes first and the business comes later. And that is where all the economists have to focus on, is that if we get the caring piece right, if we do it in this AAA concept, then the business naturally follows. And I think that is why organizations have been able to sustain, because they really work on the core and the ethos of how healthcare has been developed. So while I was, listening to multiple speakers, not only on your conference, from some others, there's a lot of focus on economics, because without right economics, nations cannot flourish. We have also seen that the so-called rich nations, developed nations, nations which have grown because they can produce oil, all have had their economic turmoils. But the word today is pandonomics. Economics during the pandemic. So I think pandonomics is what we really have to look at, to say on one hand, we know that businesses have shut down, people have been thrown, they have become jobless. They're trying to literally fight for survival. So in the situation of pandonomics, which are the industries which will really contribute to economics? And I think that is where the emerging opportunities, the theme of your conference, makes absolute sense. So if we look at healthcare, for example, whichever way you look at it, and let's focus on India, because India is 1.3 billion population. We know that the way telecommunications has leapfrogged in India, it's grown. If you take an example of, for example, the USA, they went step by step, because, developed country, we will show the world what we had to do. But what did India do as a nation? From level 1, we actually went off to level 4. So when we talk 4G, 5G, it's not really a surprise. It's nothing. The common man, somebody in the village, can really use his telephone and do multiple things which we really needed room full of gadgets to do even 5 years ago. So I think that is where things have leapfrogged. So this again shows us that things have to be done differently. We have to think differently, and we have to deliver differently. The point of care from traditional infrastructure, big hospitals, teaching institutions, has now, the focus has shifted from the hospital to people's homes. The point of care has literally shifted from, let's say, a doctor's office to the patient's the smartphone. So the shift has happened literally in a few months. Post-pandemic, before pandemic, we were doing approximately 200 to 300 teleconsults a day. And we thought that was fantastic. We were one of the first institutions which brought telemedicine to the country. Today, we're doing upwards of 5,000 a day. That's the way there's been an exponential growth. So imagine that if that can be done, then the number of clinicians which really have to be onboarded to do it. Because dramatically what we've done is that we've provided access to people, and we've given them an opportunity, saying that you can actually access a doctor now, and it costs you so much less, let alone the fees, which is now 1/10 of what it could have been. But again, you don't have to travel distances. You can get quick consults, you can get delivery of whatever you need, literally where you're sitting. And I think this has been an exponential shift of what has happened. And having said that, from this, there's a lot of spin-offs. Number one is that the services to be provided has increased again to the power, like 100 times over, 1,000 times over, simply because people can access it. So in that is an opportunity that, companies which really are accountable, which have the ethics, and which can actually provide a service, now can really gear themselves up to grow as a business, not only to provide the services within our country, But really, when we spoke about BPOs, we spoke about India being a large English-speaking population, we can actually be the back-end provider for healthcare services for the world. And I think this is one of the greatest opportunities which will happen. I'm not even saying that it might happen, it's possible. I know it will happen. And tomorrow we will be the healthcare provider for the world because we have intelligent people. Our doctors are second to none. They man some of the best facilities globally, and they can provide this kind of quick answers to people who ever need it. So I think the services in every aspect of healthcare is going to increase, and it will increase. The second is the manufacturing. With the whole government of India saying that Atmanirbhar, we will start and we will encourage manufacturing in India, we will see that the manufacturing sector for India will grow, and that will grow again exponentially. We already have a startup mindset, and I think next to Silicon Valley, it is India which is really being looked at a startup ecosystem. And when you analyze the startups, 40% of the startups are actually in the healthcare space. So that's the level of intelligentsia which is available to do it. And so I think we will see that growing phenomenally. The other opportunity which I am seeing, and I've been hearing, and definitely people want, is skilled manpower. On one end, I'm saying that, technology has grown dramatically that you don't even need the kind of infrastructure or so many people. But on the other hand, we know that there's a lacuna of healthcare professionals. And India, to me, is the only country which is poised to be able to deliver that kind of skilled manpower again for the rest of the world. So I think that again is the third opportunity with manufacturing, services, and skilling. But the mind shift and the change which has happened today is that, we did, as a human race, we did work in silos. It was my country, my little space, my address, my company. But we have learned today that unless we collaborate, unless we do work with different agencies, and for example, whether it's Airbnb, whether it's Ola, the whole mindset has become that of an aggregator. So can we really break those boundaries and start working with the best in class of whatever we want to do, wherever in the world? Because I think now people's minds have opened and it can be done. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples which has happened, within the Apollo system. When COVID started, I think all of us were just so frightened and worried. If we were working 10 hours a day, we are now working 24 hours a day because that's what healthcare professionals and warriors do. We started Project Kavach. One of the things Project Kavach did was, again, my sister Sangeeta's brainchild, but we did STI, which means that, we contracted hotel rooms to provide quarantine facilities so that people don't really go into the hospitals when they're tested positive. And these were manned, back-ended by a whole ecosystem where interventions were done through telemedicine. So people were there, they felt safe. There was a doctor intervention, a nurse intervention, they were monitored. And today, at our peak, we managed about 15,000 of these. Today, I'm happy that the numbers have come down, but we're still managing upwards of 5,000. So I think this is an example of how we collaborated. The second thing is that, between the public-private partnerships and governments, we took over the Chittoor government hospital because we run a medical school there. We said, why should we spend money on infrastructure? Let's put the money to upgrade it. And then it became a COVID hospital because the numbers were such. But the outcomes there, let me tell you, was better than some of the best centers in the world. They had 98% of people coming out of the hospital, 2% mortality. And they were very sick patients because it's in a rural area, it's in a district area. And that again is an example of public-private partnership. And I'm saying this because, we need to collaborate. The third exciting thing about collaboration is on vaccine delivery. while vaccine manufacturing will happen, how does the vaccine actually reach the common man? And I think setting up the logistics, setting up the cold chain, working with multiple providers, and seeing that from the point of manufacture to the point of actual delivery, and then monitoring the outcomes of patients, monitoring the registries post-delivery of vaccination. I think that again is, while it is huge service, I think that again is how collaborations work. So what I'm trying to say now is that unless we have a mindset of working together and of collaborating, we will not really be able to first deliver the kind of healthcare which we all should be delivering, and we will miss on opportunities. And the last point on collaborating and working together is that, we've heard and we've seen how research with AI and multiple factors, that the vaccine could actually be manufactured and be ready to be delivered. They literally fast-tracked it, they compressed the time taken. And this has happened only because of collaborations, joint research programs, working together with research institutions, with the kind of people who understand mathematics and data analytics, teaching institutions, and of course, hospital and healthcare institution. So I think collaboration, again, is extremely important. So from a pandemic situation where things look bleak and when things look miserable, we will think about the pandonomics and see that the economics now become healthy, because we owe it to our future generations. We owe it to our future generations to be definitely responsible and to give them a better, a happier, a cleaner environment and a more ethical environment where healthcare is delivered at each one's doorstep and reaches the masses and the millions. So thank you so much for the invitation, and I'm just happy to be part of this.
Thank you, madam. It's really a very, very impressive and thought-provoking speech, madam. As a member of a medical fraternity, I have been listening to our Zoom meetings in the past 7-8 months. I think this is one of the very, very best, and as well as very, very crisp also. In a very small time, you have finished, you have given all the very, very important points, be it is skilling, services, and manufacturing, and be it as collaboration. All those points of words of wisdom, madam. Madam, I can tell you, yesterday we listened to Dr. Sangeeta Reddy speaking about economy. And you, both the sisters, are really, really lifting the momentum of the business throughout our nation. Hats off to you, madam. I should also compliment with the sentence that you don't lead by pointing and telling where to go, but lead by going there yourself and leading others to follow you. That is really fantastic, madam. Madam, I believe that you don't mind taking one or two questions from our delegates. Okay, madam. The first is...
No problem.
Yeah, thank you, madam, for staying back. The first question from the delegate is this. There are opportunities emerging in post-pandemic era. What do you think should be the role of government to tap the emerging opportunities?
I think government has to do two things. Still, there is an issue where, it's the public sector and the private sector. But at the end of the day, it's the people of the country, it's the people of the nation, people of the globe who have to be served. So I think the first thing the government has to say is that we are partners in the same journey. And it's happened, it happens in pockets, it happens as in a certain project. But I think the mindset of working together has to happen. The second thing is that for years we're talking to the government, we're working with them and trying to tell them that healthcare has to be treated as a total infrastructure sector. And we need to have that kind of support and legroom so that we can grow and we can become independent. You cannot, we're not manufacturing, we are treating people. And a long time, we have to understand that the affordability is an issue. You can't really treat at the kind of prices which will actually make sense. So to do that, I think the government has to work alongside and support healthcare. And one point here is that 80% of healthcare which is delivered to the people of India comes from the private sector. So private sector is actually giving a lot back to society, and I think it has to be acknowledged. And again, government has to encourage skilling. We really need more doctors, nurses, allied healthcare professionals. So now, of course, with the NMC, a lot has changed, but there's still a long way to go. And we need to be able to train skilled manpower, because we know that, we're actually training them and then they go away. A lot of them leave India. A lot of nurses leave India. So we still don't have enough. So basically, the government has to support the sector and not treat it as something separate. And we should be able to do well after that.
That is very well answered, madam. Government is hoping to increase the value of this sector by bringing a lot of changes. Hopefully, we achieve that goal. Madam, there is another question to you. How do you see the policy roadmap for healthcare infrastructure in future, considering the impact of COVID-19? Most of it already answered, but would like to add anything to this question, madam?
I would say that, we have strongly recommended to the government to put together a healthcare infrastructure fund. And that is moving in the right direction, albeit, slower than we would have liked. We would have liked more focus to really support the sector because we are delivering healthcare. But I think policy decisions have to move in the right fashion, because right now I think policy is moving from a very political way, and I think it should move from a very policy-driven way, what is good for the ultimate user. And hopefully that will happen.
Wonderful, madam. The healthcare in COVID healthcare infrastructure fund is a wonderful idea, madam. Please push it on behalf of the entire.
We're trying.
I will be very grateful to you, madam. As you said in your speech, that India at some point of time, or it is becoming a global healthcare provider. As you mentioned, the correct word you mentioned in your speech. Let me also add that you can also coin it as India will become a healthcare capital of the world in the near future. Madam, with your initiations and achievements, all the hospitals here, all the healthcare establishments in India are surely going to follow, madam. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and your time with us, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hassan. Thank you, Buhari.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will go to the next topic. Now, let me have the pleasure of introducing our second panelist, Dr. M.A. Malik Mohammed, who is the co-founder and global vice president of Twin Health. After spending over 2 decades in research and identifying the gap in the healthcare space, Malik Mohammed co-founded Twin Health, the pioneer of the precision health platform. In his role as the Vice President of Research, he leads the Trend Study Department for Twin Health globally. He also leads the India operation of the company. Malik Mohammed, an alumnus of IIT Madras, where he completed doctorate in philosophy in the area of distributed mobile computing. He has published more than 170 research publications. He will be talking to us on IoT, AI, ML, redefining healthcare experience of twins. Dr. Maluk, I think I consider you as a juggler who juggles, balls and knives and fire sticks and so on. And I'm eager to listen to how you are juggling this Internet of Things and artificial intelligence and machine learning. Over to you, Dr. Malik Mohammed.
Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon to all. Thanks, Dr. Abdul Hassan, for introduction of myself. And my wholehearted thanks to President Ahmed Buhari, who is the man who made it happen. And also thanks for giving me an opportunity to talk about what we do and what technology can be revolutionizing in the near future. as rightly touched upon by the co-panelist, the highly influential and the person who had really demonstrated in a big way in the healthcare, Preeta Reddy. I would like to just walk through about what innovation that we had done and what is it all about. Say, diabetes by itself, I would like to talk about diabetes as a chronic condition and how is it that we had come out with the solution through technology, and today we are able to reverse diabetes and results are amazing. So diabetes by itself is not a disease, it's a condition. And the high sugars in the blood is because of the damaged metabolism. And high sugars are not a disease by itself.
Kamel?
Yes.
So when I talk about metabolism, say the actual disease, which is the root cause for high sugars in the blood, is the damaged metabolism. When you talk about metabolism, it is nothing but 1,000+ biochemical reaction that takes place in the body at every instance of time. Just imagine, it's so complex. At every instance of time, 1,000+ biochemical reaction that takes place in the body. No two human has the same metabolism, right? Moreover, it is less not two human having the same metabolism. We ourselves don't have the same metabolism throughout our lifespan. It keeps changing. It's so dynamic and it's so complex. The world so far has not seen a methodology or a protocol or a procedure to precisely measure the damaged metabolism, right? High sugars are ridiculously bad. When someone becomes diabetes in short span of years, they tend to get the other chronic conditions like cholesterol, and most of them start to become obese, and most of them start to become hypertensive. The statistical detail says that 78% of diabetic patients has at least any of these three comorbidity conditions existing in the body, right? And diabetes by itself is seen as a lifelong progressive disease. And every minute in India alone, 3 people die out of diabetes. Just imagine. And when put together, all these chronic conditions put together, it is many people who die out of diabetes. You name any disease for that matter. Cardiac, Alzheimer's, stroke, liver failure, kidney failure, everything is attributed to diabetes, and it is because of the damaged metabolism, right? And as I told you, this particular disease is said to be a lifelong progressive disease. But why? When you all get an ailment, you go to a hospital, we meet a physician, doctor treats us 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, 3 months, the disease goes off. We become all right. But why is it that this particular disease is said to be a lifelong progressive disease, right? As I told you earlier, diabetes by itself is not a disease. The actual disease is the damaged metabolism. And we don't have a mechanism to precisely measure the metabolism. It is not that we have found out this, doctors are aware of it. And we cannot blame doctors. So what happens is, there are around 8 to 11 molecules to treat diabetes. And all those molecules go and work to reduce the sugar, remove the sugars from the blood, and not to actually treat the disease. So when you treat the symptom, the disease exists forever. That is the reason why this particular disease is said to be a lifelong progressive disease with lifelong suffering of symptom, and no one knows when the chronic condition is going to hit us badly. It is such a horrible disease. And the reality facts shows that $3 trillion economy is affected because of this. And the chronic condition has been increasing gradually day by day. More than 1.5 billion people are affected by this chronic condition. It is so huge, right? And what is that? How is that we could come out of it? When now we say that we want to reverse diabetes, we will be able to do reversal if and only if we are able to measure the metabolism, the damaged metabolism. Otherwise, we are going to offer yet another diabetic management solution. So where did it all come from? Who are we? Right? So the other co-founder of the company, Dr. Jahangir Mohammed, who was the earlier speaker, who was a good friend of our President Ahmed Buhari, has revolutionized in the world of IoT. You name any automobile across the globe, it is from this earlier company called Jasper. Jasper was acquired by the network chain Cisco for $1.48 billion, one of the largest acquisitions in the world. And to quote a small example where genesis of this particular idea was born was, Elon Musk of Tesla has worked with Jahangir for more than 10 years in building a driverless car. Where Elon had a vision. He wanted his car to last for long and perform better. The life of a car to last for long and perform better. It is common that as something ages, the performance degrades, and there's a restriction on the growth of something, right? And how did that all happen? So the platform was built by throwing sensors in the car, and a digital twin of the car was built. And the car's performance was completely monitored. It was a completely automated car, and which made it possible that it is just not improving the performance of the car and improving the life of the car. They also made it possible that the car can be made driverless. Amazing outcome was possible. And after Jasper was acquired, when we were able to do something for a non-living thing, for a car, to live, to make it live for a long and to perform better, we wanted to do something on the healthcare, right? And that is where Twin was born. And when Jasper was acquired by Cisco, that is where in 2016, Jahangir was there at the trade summit of UEF. That is where the discussions happened, and me and Jahangir came together, and Twin was born. So the genesis here was, when we wanted to do something on healthcare, we wanted to understand where should we land up and what should we look at. We looked at multiple verticals, and we looked and found out that this particular chronic disease was creating hell of an individual. It caused a collateral damage across all, right? It causes a family disturbance. It causes an economical disturbance across the globe. It is just not that. The productivity of a diabetic patient or a patient who is having chronic illness down by 44%. Just imagine. Allah has all created us to be all productive, to offer the best possible and to be active. But just imagine, without our knowledge, 44% productivity loss. And it creates an hell of it. And when someone becomes diabetes, fundamentally, it screws up the entire nervous system, starting from the taste of the tongue to sex of an individual goes off. Total family life is gone, right? And when we wanted to do that, we wanted to understand where does the world exist on this. We found a company in US which was called Verta, which was doing on reversal of diabetes, where they were just literally following a ketogenic diet to solve a problem. And we all know that dietary program is never a solution. Dietary program can solve a particular problem leading to other multiple complications. So then we deep dive to understand, can we bring in a difference in it? And can we make it happen? And that is where we found out that, because we all are engineers, we are not doctors, we deep dive. We spoke to hundreds of doctors across the globe. And we found out that the root cause of the problem was a damaged metabolism, and the world has not seen a mechanism to precisely measure the damaged metabolism. Can we measure it? So if at all we want to solve the problem, can we offer a solution to precisely measure the metabolism? Yes, we made it happen. We took the genesis of what was there in Tesla. We put sensor on the patient's body, non-invasive, all FDA approved, no side effect, nothing. No one knows that I'm wearing it. Even now I'm wearing a sensor. Do anyone know? No one. If I move around the society, no one knows. So simple sensors, 3 to 5 sensors are put on the body, depending on the body's condition, based on the platform recommendation. And every day we collected around 3,000 data points per day. Every day we collected 3,000 data points per day. In addition, 4 comprehensive blood tests were done per year. Every quarter blood tests were done. So with a set of blood data and the set of sensor data, we built the digital twin of every human. An exact replica of every human was built. And that is where we came to understand there is a huge business opportunity out of it. Twin became the first company in the world to programmatically solve the root cause of chronic diseases, costing 25 million lives and $3 trillion each year. The place where we are looking at as a business, amazing, huge opportunity. We start to capitalize it. So we started to do it, right? So we built the digital twin of every patient. So every patient who was there, a digital twin was built. And try to visualize here, this particular digital twin which was sitting in the cloud, continuously kept getting data from the platform, from the human body, through the sensors. So the change that is happening in the body is picturized in the digital twin, where we went and ran a machine learning algorithm which correlates across all these data points continuously. And every day, it does a computation of 1.4 into 10 to the power of 104 computations every day to precisely measure the damage metabolism. Huge. Just imagine 1.4 followed by 104 zeros, right? We were able to solve the first of its kind of the problem. A whole body digital twin, a patent pending solution was born, and through which we were able to precisely measure the damage metabolism. Having measured the damaged metabolism, how do you heal it? Right? Is it that we are healing it through a new molecule or medicines? Of course, no. We were all born. How did we grow up? Did we grow with some medicines? Did our parents give us daily tablets, something, or our medicines to grow? Of course, no. We grew up with 4 inputs. We grew up with food. We grew up with sleep. We grew up with some activities, movement of the body, and breathe, continuous breathe. This is where we grew up. We thought. We grew up the same way. Cells were born and grew up the same way. Can we use the same technology, same methodology, same science, and use technology to do it? Right? And that is what we started to do it. In a typical metabolically damaged body, a diabetic patient has 3 damages in the system. The entire body is inflamed. The entire body, he has damaged his liver, it has become a fatty liver. He has damaged his pancreas. If we want to solve the root cause of the problem, namely the damaged metabolism, we need to go solve these 2 root cause of the problem. What we did was, the problem which had caused this damage is glucotoxicity and lipotoxicity, which is nothing but high sugars leads to depression in the performance of the beta cells and increased insulin resistance, which is called as glucotoxicity. Similarly, because of high sugar starts to get converted to fat and leading to free fatty acids in blood, which is called as lipotoxicity. We started to optimize the glucotoxicity and lipotoxicity precisely, by which we are able to solve the root cause of the problem. Patients who started to get treated through this particular digital twin started to see the normalized sugar in less than a week's time. Will you believe it? Our patients didn't want to believe it. They scout us. They kept checking it because they are saying something innovative and new. And we are able to stop for more than 95% of our patients insulin in less than 2 weeks' time. Amazing. We were able to stop all diabetic medicine in a span of 45 to 60 days for more than 95% of our patients. Right? And the 3 months average of blood sugars, namely the HbA1c, in 3 months' time. But the treatment is a 1-year treatment. The reason is, in 3 months, we had just normalized the sugars. The journey of the entire treatment is the root cause of the problem is the damaged metabolism. When we wanted to solve the problem, we need to normalize the sugars, heal make you out of diabetes, reverse all the chronic conditions. Can we optimize all the chronic conditions? We were able to do it. Thirdly, we started to optimize the organ health. Very proud and privileged to share that we are the first company in the world where we are able to reverse nephropathy. One of the symptoms of diabetes, one of the complications of diabetes is the damage that is caused to the kidney. Typically, kidney leak starts to happen. More than 67% of our patients suffer with kidney leak. And the medical science even today believes that further damage to the kidney can be stopped with medicines. But the kidney that has got damage cannot be reversed. But we were able to do it. We had the normal range of the kidney filtration is EGFR is greater than 90. We had taken patients as low as 38.5 and we were able to heal it. So we were able to heal and optimize the organ health in the 3rd quarter and ensure that we optimize the metabolism. But how do we do it? I said we optimize the glucotoxicity and lipotoxicity, but how do we do it? We did it through technology. The digital twin, which was able to precisely measure the damaged metabolism, offers precision nutrition as a solution, precision activity as a solution, precision sleep as a solution. When I talk about nutrition, you may be wondering, is it a supplementary program? Is it a dietary program? Of course, it is neither a supplementary program nor a dietary program. In a typical dietary program, you just cut the source of sugars to the body. Automatically, your sugars get normalized. There is no rocket science or magic in it. But in most of the case, it leads to elevated cholesterol and end organ damages. That is the reason why none of the dietary program became as the front end of the treatment. What do you mean by precision nutrition all about? Every food that we eat, knowingly or unknowingly, has 87 parameters in it. And we are the first in the world who had built a high-definition database capturing all the 87 parameters for more than 50,000 food items in the globe. Right? And based on which, we balance the macro, micro, and beta requirement of the body. As I told you earlier, every human is unique. The metabolism of every human is unique. It is not the same. And there was an experimentation done by a professor in UK where he picked up an identical twin, exposed them in the same similar condition for more than 6 months, and continuously kept monitoring the glucose response of the patient. And he found out that it was totally different. Very clearly proving that what is good for you need not be good for me. Right? It now presses an alarm saying that treatment cannot be generic. Yes, we don't want to blame doctors. Doctors did the best what was available at that point of time. Today, with the advent of technology, it has become mandatory that can we offer precision treatment as a solution, right? And that is what made it magical. Precision treatment through precision nutrition, precision activities, precision sleep, and precision medicine, right? When the body starts to respond, can you start to regulate the medicine and stop the medicine? And that is where things became different. It is just not that we look for the patient to be happier and healthy, patient to be healthier. We also ensure that our patients are happier and healthier. The coexistence of happiness and health is something very, very, very important. And it is just not that particular treatment. So the whole body digital twin self-learns individual state of metabolism, deciphers cause and effects, predicts outcomes, offers precision treatment to reverse chronic diseases. When I talk about this, let me talk about something very, very innovative in our company, what we created. The Cgm Patch, which is available in the market, which has been there for many years. We don't use the entire year. After 35 days, the Cgm Patch goes off. Earlier, blood sugars were measured through the drop of the blood. And now, through the interstitial fluids, we are able to measure sugars. Now, we had come to a place where, with the technology, we are able to precisely measure your sugar level based on your heart rate, activity, and other parameters. First of its kind in the world. You just look at this particular data. The gray line indicates the actual 14 days blood sugar average. Just look at the pink line, which is a prediction based on the other signals, which clearly indicates that God's creation is so beautiful that every signal in this body is integrated. Every signal is integrated. No signal can be left out alone. And we had come out with the patent pending, the virtual CGM technology, which we are implementing in patients. It is just not the sugars. We are able to also monitor your BP. For monitoring your BP, you wear a cuff. After that, you don't know what's happening. Here, similarly, with your heart rate, with your activities and other parameters, at an accuracy of 97%, we are able to measure your BP. It is just not sugars. It is just not BP. We are able to monitor how does your kidney perform. How does the filtration of kidney perform? How does your cholesterol move? Because the blood tests that we do are all instantaneous. At that particular instance, what is the value of your body? But through technology, we were able to map it at every instance. We are able to do it. So with this particular technology, it is just not that we are able to reverse diabetes. We are able to also sustain the outcome that the patient has sustained. You could see here, when the patient enters the platform, most of the food are intolerant to his body. The platform identifies those food and those food are eliminated from the food that he eats. But the beauty of this particular treatment is, as he travels through the journey of healing, the food which was red on day one start to become green. You could see here. So he can go back and eat the normal food after some point of time. That is the crux of the solution, that we were able to do it, right? And we had made it possible that we had, with the technology, we are able to, in addition to healing your metabolism, which is the root cause of the problem, safely reverse all the chronic condition, optimize the organ health. We are also able to monitor for 124 diseases continuously. And very proud to say that this company was just 2 years old, and we are now funded by Sequoia, the world's #1 investors. Both Series A and Series B are done, and now we are valued around $150 million in less than 6 months' time. And let me pause here, and I hand over the session to Dr. Abul Hassan for further proceedings. Thank you, Doctor, and thank you, others.
What a speech, Dr. Maluk. For a time, I thought it was thundering above my head because of this rainy season, you know. It was really thundering and a very inspiring speech. I hope there will be, I see a lot of people typing questions. Your speech might have invited a lot of questions. But I must tell you that it's not that only the Internet of Things or artificial intelligence or machine learning. When you compare that with automatic car of Tesla, it is the passion, it is the interest of yourself and Dr. Jahangir Mohammed utilizing all this technology to its 100% strength, and resulted in such a marvelous healthcare technology, healthcare delivery for the people of diabetes afflicted people, and it is definitely going to reverse the metabolism in diabetes mellitus. Now let us go to the next panelist. I have pleasure in inviting Dr. M.A. Sahadullah. He is a very senior and respected man in the medical profession. Dr. Sahadullah is a Kerala-based internal medicine specialist and a healthcare expert by profession. He is the founder, chairman of, and managing director of KIMS Healthcare Management Limited, a public limited company formed in 1996. Currently, Dr. M.A. Sahadullah is a leading healthcare workforce with 5,000 professionals across India and also in GCC countries. Really amazing, sir. With more than 1,000 bed strength. He also runs 17 postdoctoral DNB courses. Through his KIMS charity, a help to the tune of 25 crores extended to poor patients so far. He is going to talk to us on opportunities in healthcare infrastructure. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, our chair, Dr. Abdul Hassan. I appreciate your generous introduction. I was also lucky to share, the dais with Dr. eminent speakers like Prida Reddy and Dr. Malik and Dr. Anis, and also all the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first express my sincere appreciation to Mr. Buhari, Ahmed Buhari, and founder president of the UEF for the vision and the bringing up such a talent and intelligence under the same roof in the 2-3 days, and that is great. And maybe I would like to pay a tribute to his father, P.S. Abdul Rahman, who established this in 1979, I suppose. I had opportunity a couple of times to meet him. Thank you, and it's a great pleasure really to be invited to this session and to address an elite audience. Now, everyone talks about healthcare, post-pandemic, or even pre-pandemic. And, healthcare, education, food. So we are dealing with healthcare infrastructure, which has changed the entire caricature after this pandemic. And in fact, the compound annual growth rate is in double digits in healthcare, always been, and it will be even better in the coming years. That's what I perceive. And the universal quality healthcare, government of India is trying to provide to every citizen of India, and that also is giving an opportunity for exponential growth. I should also mention that, we are really poised to give an affordable, effective, quality healthcare, and that to the world, as it has been mentioned earlier. And that is what we call it as a medical value travel or medical tourism. One of the areas where we should really focus, not only from the private sector side, but also from the government side. And we should work together in this area. So that is another growth driver for the coming season. And then, of course, the pandemic has really caused a lot of attention, admiration, and acceptance to healthcare. And maybe worthwhile mentioning that thousands of doctors and healthcare workers perished and sacrificed their life for saving others' life and all over the world. And so I think we have received enough attention at this moment, and this may be a good opportunity for us to get things together. Healthcare infrastructure, consists of everything in healthcare. I think the buildings, the resources, the manpower, the equipment, and radiology, diagnostics, and pharma, consumer. All these are part of healthcare infrastructure, and but all these can be bought and by money. But what is not, which cannot be bought, is that the art of delivering the care. I was really impressed by Dr. Malik's session in precision care and digital care, and I will come to that in a minute. When we look at the healthcare in India, and 0.53 beds per thousand beds in India, 1,000 people in India, whereas WHO has recommended about three bed per thousand. So, mind you, we have got 46,000 hospitals and 1.8 million beds, and still we have miles to go. And there is a lot more to be developed in this area, because we are only 1/3 of the international requirement by WHO. And when you look at the healthcare spending, that also makes us a little worried. And probably post-pandemic, we may quite improve in this one. About 17% in the United States of America, in the 17% of the GDP is being spent. 10% of the GDP is spent in Japan and UK, whereas we are spending only about 3% and maybe 3.5%. But mind you, majority of it is unfunded. So I think this is an area we can see perhaps exponential growth in the coming months or years. 58% of the Indians pay the healthcare out of pocket. This is a bewildering. 58 to 60% of the Indians pay healthcare expenses out of pocket. And 50% of the spending by an inpatient is on lifestyle diseases. I know, like many of it, actually, Dr. Malik was alluding to. So I think if you look at just the scope of it and the scalability of this, the things which are, we may scale up the healthcare to $1 trillion USD in 5 years' time. And if the trajectory of growth is going the way we would like to. So naturally, this will become one of the 3 highest employee generator of the country. And so I think we have to pay a lot of attention. I agree with the digitalization of the as the tremendous potentials. In fact, digitalization has in healthcare came pretty late, and now it is catching up fast. And you could see the passion with Dr. Malik, and the potential. It has the potential to accelerate the transformation of the process in healthcare industry, and the ability to lower the cost also. And that is where we should be very keen. At the same time, I would like to mention that it is not the panacea. It's not a panacea. It will finally depends upon the doctors and other healthcare providers. And they have to reinvent the last art of healing. Because for you and me, and for most of the audience, finally what it is important is the healthcare which we deliver at the moment. And that is one-to-one personal relationship. So the consumers have changed. The entire ecosystem has changed. And so we had to redefine the healthcare to a great extent. And if you look at it, as actually Prida Reddy rightly said, we collaborate, cooperate, or perish. And that's an important thing. We cannot function anywhere like a silos. 65 to 70% of the healthcare delivery in India is by the private sector, even today. And that, so the time is ripe for a public-private participation in many areas we can really define. And so that's one thing I want to put across to you. The second thing I would like to mention is the hospitals have to collaborate. A private participation is also equally important. We can work together in resources, in centralizing the efforts for procurement, diagnostics, and infection control. And there is nothing without quality today. And quality and accreditation are the key words. But we want to go beyond accreditation, and we want to go beyond accreditation to patient safety. Today, the patient is not coming to the hospital just for a treatment alone. They are coming for an experience, a good experience, and that's what they want to. And so I think we have to change our attitude and mindset. And look at the manpower, the employability of the manpower in India, and even in the healthcare field, even among the doctors. Out of 10, if you take, about 3 or 4 out of 10 only are employable. And how we can skill them better. And that is where another area we can join together and work between the government and the private sector and, all the industries together, we can work, in this area. And the big hospitals, we often see that, Medical College Hospital, as you said, and, we have in Trivandrum about 1,000-bed hospital. And so I think big hospitals may not be the pattern to go by. I think you should go for single specialty hospitals or limited specialty hospitals. Because in this pandemic, what we have, the footfall has fallen quite a bit. And it will come back to a great extent. It started recovering now. But 30% of the footfall will not come back to the hospital. And that is where we have to use this decentralized care, as has been mentioned. We have to take the care to the guests, and we call them as guests no more anyway, as patients. And so we have to take it to them. And by starting centers near their home, people would like to have quality diagnostics and medical centers near their home. They will look at telemedicine, as had been alluded, and teleconsults, tele-ICU, tele-radiology, tele-pathology. So everything has happened tele. So remote care, as had been mentioned by Dr. Malik also, has become a norm and not an unusual thing. And nurse-managed clinics, especially in the village areas, we have to give affordable care. So telemedicine and the nurse-managed clinics should be looked at it. And home care has come in a big way. More specialties, more procedures are being added every day for a team who will go to the home and provide it. In fact, we started home care about a couple of years ago, and it was not catching up. But post-pandemic, it has caught up very well. And because people do not want to travel and come to the hospital, and they would like to receive care at home with all the precautions. Drive-in clinics. We started 2 drive-in clinics for immunization. You come in the car and sit in the car. We will take the temperature and just give you the vaccination, and well received by the public. And same thing with diagnostic work. You want to do a blood test. You come in, sit in the car. We will take the blood, and then we will inform you the result through the WhatsApp or to the patient portal. So, certainly the technology and automation helps, but that should be a good helper, and the personal rapport still thrives and still go on. Then another focus I would like to bring it to you is that we should all look at, that the focus is changing from illness to wellness. And so a disease burden has to be reduced, or rather prevention is better than the cure. And so look at nutrition, exercise, travel medicine. Today, when you travel, you want to ask how many days quarantine, what medicines I should take for malaria, and immunization, physical checkups, psychological counseling. rehabilitation, lifestyle diseases. Lifestyle diseases are actually as part of wellness things, and family planning. So on and on, the wellness features are becoming a very important area of focus in the modern changeover what has happened. But one thing I should say that we can join hand with alternate medicine, Ayurveda, in this respect, and we should really consider, because that will really promote the medical value travel in our country. And the one another area we should pay attention is in the infrastructure, the insurance and the subsidized care. The government of India and the state governments have started a lot of subsidized care, Ayushman Bharat, a wonderful effort on that. ECHS, ESI, Kairunya, Arogyasri, and so on and so forth. For every state, we have it. The automation has not completely happened in this area. So I hope that we have online, online submissions, and so the rejections become less, the time is saved, and the payments can be studied, and it can be made earlier, and those kind of things which will definitely. And the insurance is, India is only about a 1% insurance which is there. And now it is growing at a rate of 50%. But is it enough? I think we are still far below. Only 1%, and most of the people pay from their pocket. I think if I say the same thing to a US citizen, he will be surprised that, because so much amount of money, how do you pay from the pocket, out of pocket? So an outpatient care, and is not included in our insurance. So I think the insurance sector we should work with the insurance sector for innovation and a co-payment system, perhaps, deductible schemes. And there's a lot of development internationally, and we can certainly work with them. And so, of course, the expenses can go up the premiums can go up a little bit, but it's better to be insured than being exposed without insurance to a serious disease. Finally, I would say that all that we have to bring it in, and but the important thing is that, as Dr. Preetha Reddy, Preetha Reddy mentioned, Ms. Preetha Reddy mentioned earlier, I think the value-based care is the most important. We have to re-establish the art of healing, and the doctors and the healthcare providers should have a new mindset, and they should be prepared. They should become resilient to adapt to the new changes. And this is by that we can actually make the disease management much easier. And we can provide more packages, and we have to follow the new hygiene system, because people are now, the consumers who are coming are very careful, looking at the hospital. Do you have a good hygiene system? Are the people sitting apart? And the social distance is kept or not? And so they are well informed about the care. So when they come into a hospital, certainly they look at the quality and the new hygiene system, etc. So we as healthcare providers, and many of us, should really learn to adapt to the new changes which is coming. And we also make the care, the patient experience, and seamless, assured more or less the outcome, and less complications. And also at the same time, we should look at the cost and the manpower cost rationalization, and the other consumer, the pharma cost rationalization, so that we can make it more affordable. To sum up, the healthcare ecosystem is actually ever changing, and the consumers are learning more, and the healthcare providers have to stay dynamic and resilient to face the new challenges. And in that case, actually, the healthcare is one of the best sectors to work and to progress. With that, I'm stopping. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Good day to all of you.
Sir, it was a wonderful enlightenment of the healthcare system in our country, the growth of all the departments, and the present position of healthcare delivery today. The one point which you have highlighted, amidst the growing healthcare, be it buildings, be it technology, be it number of beds, and the cornerstone is art of delivering the care to the people. Thank you very much, sir. As we have short of time constraint, we go to the next speech by Dr. Anis Ahmed. And let me have the pleasure of introducing our fourth panelist. Dr. Anis D.B. Ahmed is currently the Director and Senior Consultant Surgeon at the International Center for Thoracic Surgery in Mount Elizabeth Novena Center, Singapore. His interest in minimal invasive robotic surgery. He does voluminous work in robotic cardiothoracic surgery and became the Vice President of Robotic Surgical Society of Singapore. That is widely known as RS3, Robotic Surgical Society of Singapore. As a colleague, as I am also a minimal invasive surgeon, I understand, going through his resume, how much efforts and determination he invested in reaching such a great heights. Dr. Anis will be talking to us on a very, very exciting topic, on artificial intelligence and surgery 4.0. Where are we headed? It is time for you, Dr. Anis.
Good evening, everybody. And Ahmed Buhari, thank you for giving me this fantastic opportunity to speak with a lot of great people. If Dr. Preeta Reddy is listening, I started my journey in your hospital and I have the first payslip with me. That's who I am. I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon. Okay, so let me just get this going. So if you look at surgeons, so this is the picture which some people think of scary. A guy with a lot of knives, a lot of pockets who can do a lot of things, pull out a lot of tricks. I'm not very sure. But the problem is the surgeons themselves don't think of themselves that way. They think they are this, which is as a James Bond. So this James Bond can do a lot of things. He's handsome, he's got a lot of guns, and he's got a lot of ways to kill or save people from the bad guys. Now, there's a little bit more to surgeons and to surgery that way. So I'll go to the first part of my topic, which is basically about artificial intelligence. I saw people before me speak very, very nicely about how they are tackling the pandemic of diabetes. The correct word is pandemic of diabetes. It has been going on for many years in this world, and we've just recognized that it is one of those chronic diseases which is staying with us. So the first attempts to implement an artificial intelligence in healthcare was started in the late 20th century when Dendral first introduced it at the Stanford University in the 70s. And then it was written in a programming called Lisp, and which is now actually the father for many artificial languages in healthcare. And one of the offshoots of it, just to give you a name, it's called Mycene. It's actually an AI program which is used to identify bacteria which causes severe infections. The next milestone actually happened around in the 1990s. I think we had a 10-year lapse, which was very slow. And then this is the first time the doctors themselves sat down and decided that, we need the help of artificial intelligence because we're collecting so much data and we were not able to analyze it. So it was actually introduced in Korea in 2013, the programming called KAIST, which revolutionized the thinking in today's world about artificial intelligence, physicians, and its ability to deal with problems. So it was written in a language called Lunet, and then it was able to identify cancer cells based on just chest X-ray images to a mind-boggling accuracy of 97%. So let me tell you, putting in perspective, as a very good radiologist, your accuracy is about 60%. So you know where you are. But the most important example of how artificial intelligence in healthcare works is in the field of robotic assisted surgery. So at this point in time, it is the surgeon working with the robot to deliver surgical care. There are two main benefits. One, it's huge money savings. Two, it's more effective surgery. Usually you need two surgeons on the table. But whereas with the robot, I don't need a bedside assistant as of now. Accenture estimates that you could save about $40 billion annually by 2026 with the implementation of robot in all the hospitals. Putting things into perspective, you should understand that in 2019 alone, close to 1 million procedures were performed with the assistance of the robot. So, will artificial intelligence really improve healthcare for everyone? Which is a very politically driven question to be asked. Some people say no, some people say yes. I think it is yes. I think it will. But it all depends on how you interpret artificial intelligence. If you think you're going to allow a machine to run on its own uncontrolled, then I think you are on this area, which is pretty stupid. But if you have a machine and you don't know how to operate, you're still stupid. So it depends on how you want to use this artificial intelligence to help your ant. This is a classic example of how any creature learns. Okay, so ant takes so much time to do a particular work it takes. The bird takes so much, chimpanzee takes so much. That is me, the dumb human. There's not a lot of difference between me and Einstein that you need to understand. That is the problem. Okay, so the difference between human beings is limited. Most of us are 99% equal. It's very, very exciting. But if you create an artificial intelligence program, it gathers the capacity of multiple human beings, but eliminates all the errors and the technicalities. And then there is no limit to its growth. So it keeps growing. Okay? So this is the curve of artificial intelligence, whereas this is the curve of reality. So you can see at any time, if you have an artificial intelligent machine, we are as humans are going to lose to it. So, which brings us to this statement, which is the limitless possibilities of robot are now exchanging different roles in the society. We have robots with whom you can sit and talk and cry. Singapore is a country which has got a seriously big problem of growing population. And we have robots which can sit and hold hands with old patients, console them. In Japan, they have robots which even gives out facial expressions. It can empathize with you. So they are actually changing their roles in the society. And AI is actually a sexy topic for business people. So it sells very well. Because if you see the Wall Street Journal published this, you see an AI doctor will see, now this is a very good story. And remember, this happened 10 years ago. So this is a patient who was 26 years old who had repeated seizures. She was left confused and terrified. And it took 6 years for something to be done to her with all that suffering, which is they implanted a computer into her brain. So basically, they transplanted some part of technology into her brain to control her seizures. So this was a turning point. And now they have chips everywhere in the brain to do a lot of kind of work. So you know where you're going now with the future of Alzheimer's and disease like multiple sclerosis, etc. So is this true? Am I competing with myself if I'm going the technology way? Yeah, I think so. I think so. But I'm not scared. I'm not scared because the future doctor may not be completely human. Okay, you can remove a lot of people's. I don't want a bad nurse taking a blood out of me. I don't want a bad doctor doing my operation. But yes, from mental health app to robotic surgeons, AI is changing the daily practice of medicine. Okay, and you know that the AI actually beat human doctors on doing clinical examinations. This is done in an experiment done in NHS in England. The next 3 slides are courtesy of PricewaterhouseCoopers, and you can see the involvement of AI and robotics. It helps you in keeping well. It helps you in early detection. It helps you in diagnosis, decision-making, treatment, end-of-life care, research, and training. Every single branch, as far as this forum is concerned, is a business potential and a business opportunity. I work in this field, which is AI, robotics, and early detection. So I'm working on a program which will help detect lung cancer early by using about 0.3 mils of your blood. So different people are working in different corners, but at the end of the day, you come back to the central point, which will fuse of all this, and probably all of us, the rest of the humanity, will feel better in a few years' time. As they say, where the money goes, that's where everything improves. So you can see in 2014, you had about 663 million in investments in the AI market. And this is in 2021, it is 6.6 billion. So it's about 10 times in a period of 7 years. Actually, this has gone up in spite of the pandemic year because people felt the need of it more. So more money has actually gone in. So it's about close to $8 billion by next year. So you can have, by 2025, you can have AI in everything: population health management, digital avatars, and they can be handling all your patient queries. This is a very interesting thing. So they did a survey when they asked a group of population to say, how many of you are willing to consult a robot in your outpatient? You don't need to see a doctor. How many of you are happy talking to a doctor? 50. This is from NHS from England. So 55% were willing to speak to the robot. 38% said no. 7% said, I don't know. But the same data was put to some country like Korea, Singapore, and Taiwan. Only 20% or less than 20% were willing to speak to the robot, and 80% wanted to see a doctor. The same thing was put to populations in remote parts of India and Nigeria, where 75 to 80% of the population were willing to speak to the robot, and 20% were unwilling. What does it actually do? It's a reflection of the quality of healthcare system in the country as of now. So people feel very comfortable with the healthcare system they don't want to see a robot. They're happy to see the doctor because they feel that he's delivering good care, he or she. So that is a very important, I think this. So what does it tell you? That humans are willing to work with the robot. So how has surgery evolved? So before this, the surgeon was a central picture. Remember my James Bond, he was in the middle of everything. So you could get like herbs, you had all the equipment, you put your concoctions, you give it to the patient, and patient got treatment. So how has surgery evolved now? What is the present? So the surgeon stands somewhere here. So he gets domain knowledge, which is public or in journals. Then he gets the case knowledge from his own patient. And there's patient individual data. And then he gets different devices to choose from, or diagnostic to therapeutic. And then he goes to work on patient care. So that is the present. So how will the future look like? So the future looks like here. Patient's journey starts somewhere here, where all individual data is collected, your case knowledge is clumped, and then you get into the domain knowledge, and the devices go to work on it, and then you are given, actually you're told what you're supposed to do, which is called big data science, which is another talk for another day. So this is the James Bond you all knew, but I think this is the James Bond which you all want to be. You're sexy, you're sleek, but you can do everything with one gun. You can still kill efficiently. So this is how I operate today. Interestingly, have you noticed I don't have an assistant? This is my nurse at the bedside table. This is the robot. And I'm not even looking at the patient. I'm facing into the console. Okay? And what you see on the screen is actually my arms, which you will see in the next, hopefully, I will not play for too long, for 10 seconds. So this is actually my right hand. Okay, this is a lung surgery. This is my left hand. What I'm not showing you is that there's another hand up here which is holding up. So now I've exchanged my God-given 2 hands to a robotic assisted 3 hands. So I can do everything. The precision with robot is amazing. Okay, you see what you get applies absolutely to robotic surgery. So you can do the surgery, you're sitting and doing the surgeon never gets tired. The precision is amazing. Right. Now, where are we at this point in time? I think I've listed all the companies on top, which are surgical robotic companies in the world. I've had the privilege of working with surgical robotic companies from 1998 onwards. So I have evolved with the robots from the time they have started to where we've gotten right now. So these robots all can do what I showed you on the video. But I think all this is flowing into this platform where these robots will be combined with artificial intelligence. Verb Surgical is a parent company combination between Google and Johnson & Johnson. So this is actually surgery combined with artificial intelligence, which will be the new category. How is it going to be? Don't know. I can't say. I have some NDAs. Now, how do we adapt to this universe is very important. Okay, so this is the standard curve, bell curve graph. So you have all this technology which is coming out with the artificial intelligence sphere. So where should we be? Some of us, not all of us, can be here because it's an early stage. But although we saw one innovator in our midst today, early adopters, yes, this is where I want to be if I'm not producing the robot myself, but if I'm going to work with the artificial intelligence community. But at least we should be in this half. When you go into this half of the equation, that is where you find that the country's healthcare ecosystem goes backwards, or you're paying more because most companies want to make money by that time. So probably if you join the crowd here, then I think it benefits your community, your country, and wherever you are to serve your people. Which brings us to surgery in the digital age. So at the last, what we would call Society of Robotic Surgeons meeting, the CEO of Johnson & Johnson got up and made a very bold statement in front of a lot of surgeons in the crowd, which didn't go down very well. He said, well, surgeons, we're going to put you out of a job. So that is not, he didn't badmouth us. What he meant was, he said, hey guys, this is the reality. So he used a very important word. He said, we are going to democratize robotics for you. By extension, we are going to democratize surgery itself, so that you will have an advanced OR platform where your patients will feel better. So that is what we call now surgery 4.0. So how do you think in the future the operating theater will look like? Hey, this is 2030. Actually not. This is close to where I am getting in my OR by next year. We call it the hybrid operating theater, but although I don't have all this yet, but I'm pretty sure I can advance this time to 2025. So how does it work? You actually will not be seeing a lot of people in your operating theater, okay? There will be a robot to put needles into you. Somebody will be checking your blood pressure and blood glucose, as my colleague has already done that before me. My decision making about your surgery is already done. And then we have an augmented reality. So I can wear a pair of glasses and sit down and what we do. And we have cognitive robotics where I operate like that. You know what is the most important thing in this whole operating theater? I think this slot here, okay? That is called the ATM. Don't forget to bring your credit card because that is where it works. You put your credit card, you get your operation done. Otherwise, no, nothing, okay? All right. So whenever I go to give this talk, so people ask me, hey, will robots take your job? I always think of it as two ways to answer this question, okay? So I answered it this way. So you have two robots. One is looking at the girl and one is looking at the computer. So you can say, no, robots will take my job. Or you can say, no robots will take my job. That, ladies and gentlemen, is my evening. Have a good day.
Thank you, Dr. Anis. I think your first final statement, the robots will take our job in the near future. I very well, assured that the people are very much thrilled with our presentation. And, there was actually very short time for question and answer. However, let me ask you a question directed from our panel, the delegates, that how far this robotic surgical work are standardized globally. Probably he meant that there are services with a robot would be different from country to country. Are there?
Yes,
yeah. Go ahead.
At this point in time, it is a monopoly. It is run by Intuitive Surgical. Okay, so they have set the bar very high and they set the global rules. So all of us have a platform where we come together and then we do robotics and surgery. But from 2022, you will have big companies like Johnson & Johnson, Medtronic, and you have 3 companies from Korea, 2 from Canada, 1 from Japan, and one from Europe, who's already entering into the market right now as we speak. And I think after that, the prices of all your robotic surgery will come down very drastically. And I hope countries like India will definitely fly after that. Not that they're not flying now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anis. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the close of this great session, which lots of enlightenment, lots of messages from all the speakers. I thank all the speakers for coming on our invitation and giving their thoughts in healthcare delivery. Ladies and gentlemen, you might have understood by this time that the healthcare sector is the one sector which is open to all kinds of innovations. You develop any kind of technology and invest in the healthcare sector. It opens space for all entrepreneurs. We can call it as medipreneurs, and particularly in India, as I said earlier, that India will become a capital of healthcare delivery for the entire world. So be prepared to take up the challenge. Thank you very much once again for all the speakers and delegates. Inshallah, we will meet again after some time. Till then, wish you good luck. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Vanakkam. Jai Hind.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Well, what a year it has been. And each and every one of us, I'm sure, are now familiar with the word pandemic and now pandemic economic.